Plastic Man, No More, issue 4. Christopher Cantwell writing with Jacob Edgar and Alex Linz on the art. So this is the final issue of this, which had a very fun concept, which is that Plastic Man finds out he's dying, and in an effort to try and maybe reverse it, but mostly to save his son, who might suffer from the same thing someday, tries to devise a plan to fix it, which obviously developed into hitting them with a nuclear bomb.
Yeah, this goes from like, hey, this is a whatever little book is Plastic Man to, well, we're killing the metal man. Maybe Chimp's gone. Don't worry about him. Yeah. I think things go. Just don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. It's fine. It's fine. Oh wait, there's a nuclear explosion.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. There was some fun stuff along the way, though. I really like No Face or whatever he's called was making me laugh quite a bit.
I really wanted that face.
It was when he was playing cards and he was like talking about something being prejudice or something. It was cracking me up.
So I'm really glad that you have been enjoying this book, and I assume Matt as well.
Yeah, Matt's been into it.
Yeah, because like this was a book that I didn't realize was like I was so excited for, and then I opened up the first issue and saw it as Cantwell. I was like, ooh, now I'm interested, and it lived up, and it's been kind of one of those low key favorites as it's been coming out. Like where it's just been like, like one of those books where you don't expect it to be that good because it's just a random Plastic Man mini, but I've really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I think similar to All Winter, this is probably my least favorite issue. Is the last one?
Yeah,
it's a variety of things. Like I think the first issue was so good at like just as a character study of him revealing what was going on by the end. The issue with No Face and the Metal Men all dying was like a really funny issue. It was like a comedy of errors where
these escalation of unfortunate events kept happening.
It was really dark, like humor, like just coming up where it's like, oh, everything's going to be fine. Oh no, I've accidentally killed the entire team. Oh well. Like it was really funny. And in this issue, don't know, it has some good dramatic beats and there's some funny visuals, like Plastic Man putting a canister because his head's melting and like duct taping it around his neck. That is a funny visual.
Him just taped up with his face in that jar and just being like, and it's a full page of him just going, everything's going to be fine.
Yeah, it's legitimately a funny book. But I think when Robin shows up to try and stop all this, I was kind of like, I'm not really feeling this debate or this conflict here. I do like that Plastic Man eventually says, you know what, son, get out of here. If this kills you, it'll be the biggest mistake I've ever made. So let's just test it on me. You run away. Like that decision by him, I do think made a lot of sense to me. Is like let him have the choice.
His one last good moment as well.
Yeah, even though they do kind of do the thing at the end where that hand that fell off and crawled away, it's kind of become a little mini Plastic Man who's still there. I was expecting that to pop back up when they set it up, but I thought it was going to be more of a big plot thing. Whereas here it's just a sort of there's a little bit of him out there still, just a
little bit looking over him.
Yeah. That's kind of nice, but this is definitely the sentimental issue where like his son finally remembers the day he brought him to the pier and they had a nice day and what little happy memories they had as Plastic Man is melting into a bucket where he's just like eyes floating in goo, and it's
a little bit bittersweet though because at the same time he is like corrupting his son to be more like him as well. Like he goes and steals the watch for his mom at the end.
Yeah, it's sort of like there's a sort of bittersweet element to that where it's like, oh, he's kind of become his father, but part of me is also like, yeah, but is he ever going to do it again? Was it a one-time thing just because Plastic Man specifically said it's the one thing I wanted to give your mother and I never could? Does he just do that at the end as a one-time? But I mean, obviously you can read it in a really sad way. Or is it no? He's repeating the cycle.
Or is that the start of it? Yeah. Like it's a one-time thing, but is it?
Yeah, and we get one more scene in the other art with the Justice League where. They basically offer his son a role as the new Plastic Man, and he tells him to get lost. He's not interested. I think I've been kind of of two minds about these Justice League scenes because it's funny from the perspective of Plastic Man of how dismissive they are of him, but they don't pay attention to him. There's a certain point where I'm like, okay, it's through the lens of his perspective, but at the same time I'm like, I don't know, it feels like they're being too dismissive. Where oh, you're dying? That's funny.
Yeah, I feel like I've seen this in a few different other books as well, though, from the perspective of lesser heroes, where where they always feel like the big boys look down on them, or they just don't take them seriously, and it always plays it up like this. So I'm kind of just used to seeing this.
So yeah, the nuke thing happens, of course, but his son gets away first, so it's just Plastic Man. And then all of the dialogue afterwards is basically that there's no trace of him, like there. Like, it seems to have just killed him, right? It did not work.
It didn't work.
Outside of this one little bit that's now formed out of his hand that gets separated in an earlier issue, watching as his wife and son sort of remember him and say, oh, you know what? We made you, and that's, you know, that's the only...
I just kind of love how the hand has hair and it has the goggles, but it's still very much a hand. Like, you can see like all the fingers of the legs and the arms. Like, you can still see the nail. Like, you can still see the fingernails.
Like, it's kind of like formed a little bit to be more humanoid shaped, but yeah, you can tell that that's what they used to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, he's the head's the thumb. Yeah.
Yeah. Kind of love it.
Yeah. It's disgusting and funny. It's an interesting mix. I can't deny it. Yeah. So yeah, that's a solid final issue. Not my favorite of the four by any means, because it wasn't the funniest, but it definitely had its moments, especially in the art. Some big moments for it to draw.
I agree, but I think it has made an excellent like black label trade that you can just, you know, hand to someone as, hey, you want something a bit different? I think it sticks out amongst a lot of the other black label books, because a lot of the black label books have been like Superman, Batman, right? They've been like big heroes, different takes.
I would argue 90% have been Batman, 5% have been Superman, maybe 3% have been Wonder Woman.
There's a Swamp Thing one, there's a Zatanna one.
And that's your non-Batman books.
Yeah, it's a lot of Batman. But this is really good, and I'm glad it's there that you can just, you know, recommend this to someone now as like just something like a bit different. If you want a little very contained, little quick to read mini.
It's a very contained Plastic Man story, which is nice. Like, obviously, yeah, there's Justice League's there in reference, and the Metal Men's a bit of a deep pull, but it's played all very kind of self-contained, where it sets up Aquaman's backstory, gives you a full thing to like care about, and then ends it by the end.
The thing is, though, if I'm recommending this to someone, I'm not recommending it as a Plastic Man story. Oh, hey, this is a must-read Plastic Man story. I'm going, hey, you interested in this darkly funny story?
Oh, sure. But if someone says, hey, is there any good Plastic Man stories, like, this is probably the one you're going to think of.
It is, yeah. Yeah.
I mean, Gail Simone did a mini a number of years ago. We did on the show.
That was okay.
It was okay. It wasn't great, but it was.
What was the word we always use from that?
There you go. That's that. What are you rating Plastic Man No More?
Probably a 7.5, but yeah, it's a little bit of that's just for the whole series. This issue alone probably would have been a 7 if it wasn't the last issue.
Yeah, I'll probably go with an 8. I think it gets to there, kind of in a similar idea where
I think like all the issues before this have been 8s and up. Like comfortably. This is the weakest issue.
Yeah, I mean, I never do this, but if I'm rating the book as a whole, it would be like a nice solid 8, whereas this issue is kind of a weaker 8.
As a whole, it would probably be like an 8.5 for me, but like this issue is like on the lower end of that, so probably like a 7.5. Yeah.